Welcome to Shred the Debt, the podcast that cuts through confusion and empowers you to take control of your financial future. Whether you're buried in student loans, battling credit card balances, or just tired of living paycheck to paycheck, you're in the right place. Each week we bring you real strategies, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help take action. Subscribe now, share this episode with someone who needs it, and join the movement to destroy debt for good. No BS, no judgment, just real talk and real results. Let's get to work. Well, welcome back, guys. I'm Mike Boone, and I'm your host, and today we're diving into something that every one of us needs, but most of us rarely talk about. It's courage and confidence, and how they shape the financial decisions we make every day. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed looking at your bank account, if you've ever put off making a financial decision because you were scared of making the wrong one, if you've ever thought, I'll start getting my finances together next month, then today's episode is for you. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's taking action even when you're afraid. And confidence? What is it knowing all the answers? It's believing in your ability to figure things out. And in personal finance, those two qualities can literally change your entire outlook on life. So let's get into it. So let's talk about the emotional side of money. Let's be honest, money's emotional, even for disciplined people, even for financially literate people. Fear shows up in a bunch of ways. Fear of looking at debt, fear of budgeting because it makes things feel real, or fear of making a mistake. Or maybe we're talking fear of losing progress. Over the past few episodes, we've had emails that speak about fear, whether it outright called out, I'm scared of this or this or that. It's fear may not be called out specifically, but when we're talking about budgeting makes us feel a certain way, or we'll do it next month, or I made a mistake. I think that was one from last week. How do I overcome misreading fine print or something like that? That's a fear, okay? But what I want you to take away is financial fear thrives in silence, and it's fear in general. It's like when we talked about, the monster under the bed. That's a great example. We're afraid of the dark. We're afraid of the monster under the bed. Well, the only way to draw attention and the only way to overcome that fear is to turn the light on. Shine the light on it. Let's look at what it is that we have to deal with. Let's look at our debt. Let's understand it. Let's set a plan and let's defeat it. That is how you overcome fear. It's not in silence. It's not dealing with things alone. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to just quietly go through life with this just fear just living inside of you. You can eliminate that. And you do that by gaining confidence. And confidence grows through action. You don't become confident by reading 100 articles or waiting until you feel ready. You become confident by doing the small, uncomfortable things that start building momentum. It's just like when you're paying off your debts. If you start with the smallest debt and you go to the largest debt, each one of those, every time you pay something off, it's like it's like you're the Hulk. You get a little bit bulkier. Every time you get more confident, you get more and more confidence, and then by the time it's like you're going through levels of Mario Brothers or something, or some sort of video game. You're at level 1, level 2, level 3, and the more experience that you gain, the more confident and the stronger that you become to tackle these greater tasks. So in the finance world, we're going to tackle these greater debts. And because we've manufactured this confidence, we've gained this confidence, it's grown because we've made all these positive moves. Now we have this confidence. And that's what's going to help you defeat the boss, the mortgage, the car payment. And that's pretty cool, right? So you don't become confident overnight. It is the small things that you do. So if you think about your first job or your first big purchase, first time of getting a loan, I can remember the first time that the first house I bought, for example. I can think of that. That was a huge purchase. I remember writing that check, and like the memo section, or the where you have like on a check you write the number, right, and then you have to like write out the number, like $150,000 or whatever. I remember how long that was. I had to really make that small, and that comes that comes to mind. And I mean, I wasn't 100% sure that I was doing it right. I had no idea. I just knew that my payment was $700 a month. And, I made more than that. So I'm like, yeah, I can afford a house, right? And thinking back now, those probably weren't that probably wasn't the right way to go about it, right? Maybe I bought a house, but I wasn't really ready to buy a house. I just had a job, right? I had a good job, but that didn't necessarily make me able to afford a house on my own, but I did. And, and then when I did, I rolled my vehicle into the loan too. I did a lot of dumb things when I think back to my first big purchase like that. And I did it. I mean, that's the thing. I did it. And over time, the familiarity of making decisions like that, whether you grow and you make decisions in your job, or you make bigger purchases, or you do other things, any work that you do, any skills that you gain, whether it be at your job or in your finances, whatever it is, you're gaining confidence. Okay, so just being familiar with things that you see over and over again in your job, and what decisions to make, that makes you feel confident. And when you build confidence, then, I mean, the courage comes with it. Okay, so we talked earlier, we're going to have the courage and the confidence. Well, once you have the confidence, I almost think the courage kind of comes before confidence, but they're both, like, they're at the same party, okay? If you were to go somewhere and you have confidence, courage is right there with it. And if you like one, you like the other, because one, like, they're twins, right? They're basically the same person. And, you have to have clarity too. And action builds clarity. Clarity builds confidence, and confidence builds courage. So I think we could say that courage builds confidence as well. I think you have to overcome the fear, and overcoming the fear is the courage, I think. And then, like, if you have the courage to do something, that I think that's like they're both hand in hand. Like, courage and confidence, I think they're the same thing, right? So it's that's the shred the debt mentality. We're not talking perfection. We're talking progress. And as you go through each one of these things, you're building more and more of those things. So, let's talk about what courageous financial decisions look like. It's easy to say, be brave, but what does that mean, right? Number one, you could look at real numbers, not the ones you hope for. So pull your bank statements, add up your debt, face your spending habits. Those things, that takes guts, man. Like, if you actually pull up your bank statement and you're like, man, I spend a lot of money on coffee or whatever it is. Or you look at your debt and you look at all the payments that you're making every month. That takes a lot of courage to do that. You have to overcome that fear. And, you have to be able to say no to things. That takes courage, right? That's a fear of saying no. If you had to, let's say you like to go on a cruise every year. Well, maybe not going on a cruise this year will help you get that much closer to paying your car off and owning your car. And then maybe that's a $400 or $500 a month payment that you won't have anymore. And then next year, you could go on a cruise. These choices seem small, but they require courage because you're choosing long-term gain over the short-term comfort. And that takes me back to, and I've said this, I know, in other shows, but it takes me back to my parents again. It's, my dad always said, you always have two choices. You have on one hand, you have what's fun. What's the fun thing to do? And then on the other hand, that you have the right thing to do. And he said sometimes the fun thing and the right thing are the same thing. But more times than not, the fun thing, that's the short-term gain, and the right thing to do is the not so much fun thing. So those are small choices that we make, but that takes courage to look and say, all right, all my friends are going to this party, but I know that there's going to be some things going on there that I don't need to be around, that my grandmother was there. She would be disappointed in me if I was there. And then there's the right thing to do. And it takes courage to be able to say no. And you can apply that in any aspect of your life. You can take your personal life. You can take the financial part of your life. You can take the professional part of your life. But sometimes saying no, that takes a lot of courage. And then asking for help. And that's a big thing too. And we get a lot of these emails of people asking for help. Hey, can you send us a budget? Can you look at my finances and see if I'm doing the right thing? Absolutely. And we get it all the time. And that email is shredthedebt@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to help you guys. Like we are the friend. We're the train station, okay? And we're going to help get you on the right train and get you on the right track to help you. So asking for help, that takes a lot of courage. Just listening to the show or sending an email or something like that, that takes a lot of courage. So, asking for help. So whether that's a financial advisor, a mentor, or even a friend who's better with money than you are, admitting that you need guidance is one of the most courageous moves that you can make. Listening to this show, reaching out in an email or something like that, that is the most courageous thing that you can do. And then it's changing your identity. When you adopt a shred the debt mindset, you stop being someone who's hoping their finances improve. You become someone who's taking action and they're making their finances improve. So an identity shift is powerful, and it starts with one courageous choice. And that could be making a budget. That could be listening to this podcast. That could be reaching out, asking questions. It could be anything. So, being courageous. I mean, that's wild. That's very much a part of everyday life. That's a part of self-improvement. So when you're courageous, it's going to help you to build confidence. And that takes us into the next thing, right? Building confidence through the Shred the Debt framework. So there's a strategy. So let's talk strategy. How do you actually build confidence in your financial decisions? Well, I'm going to give you a 3-step framework. And I'm going to teach you the Shred the Debt mentality, okay? So step 1 is know your numbers. Confidence starts with clarity, okay? So know what you owe, know who you owe, know what you earn, what you spend, and what you value. If you understand these 4 things, you can instantly start making better decisions. And that's why financial plans fail. It's not because the people are bad with money. It's because the numbers were never clear to begin with. So there's clarity, right? And with clarity comes focus. You can't just say, okay, well, this debt's clear, right? Understand from a large picture of what you owe, and then focus it in like it's binoculars. Focus on what it is that you want to improve on. Focus on your spending. Focus on what you earn. Those are things that are very important. Okay, so know your numbers, and make one bold move. That's step 2. Make one bold move, not 10. 1. Pick your first courageous act. If you have a ton of credit cards or something like that, call one of them. Call the creditor and say, hey, is there something that I can do to, minimize this debt? Can I pay, a certain amount of dollars that'll make this go away? Or something that's even easier is, and we talk about it in every show, is start a budget. Start a budget. If you know what you're spending, put it in a budget. Or set up an auto pay. We've even said set an auto pay. Make one bold move. That is how you gain the confidence by having the courage to do so. So you could set up auto pay on your cell phone. And there are a lot of cell phone companies that will give you a discount just for doing it. All right? So the human brain loves momentum. And once you take that one bold action, your confidence grows, and then you're going to want to take the next one. You're going to want to do the next thing, and then the next thing. And it's pretty awesome. So step 3 is build systems that protect you. So courage will get you started, and systems will keep you going. So you want systematic improvements to what you're doing. And that's going to continue to build your confidence. And you could have automatic transfers. Maybe you have a weekly money check-in or something with yourself. A spending plan. You can, I don't know, the debt snowball, for example. That's something that you commit to every month. So, you could look at your spending. Once you have a budget set up, you can look at, hey, this thing, I'm going to pay, this much on this small credit card and then this credit card or whatever. And then you can look at your debt snowball that you commit to every month. And then once you say, okay, I'm going to take this $100 that I'm paying on this. Now that it's paid off, I'm going to take this $100 and now this other one that I'm paying $150 on, I'm going to pay $250 on. So that's like that. That's how you make progress, man. And that's the confidence builder. And it's pretty awesome. And once you guys get a hold of that, and you have a comprehension of courage and confidence, like I say, they're twins, man. You have to have, I guess you could say that courage, when I'm thinking about it here, the more that I'm breaking it down in my mind, I'm seeing that courage could come first, right? Because that's overcoming the fear. So then when you overcome the fear and you start doing things that were once fearful, and you have the courage to do that, and once you start knocking those out, you become more confident. Okay, so I guess I can relate that to, I had a procedure done on my face back last summer, and it was skin cancer. Okay, so I had that procedure done, and I was nervous. I was very, very fearful of going in there and having that procedure done. But the first thing that I had to do is I had to overcome the fear, and I made the appointment. So making the appointment gave me a little bit of confidence. I overcome that fear because I made the appointment. And then when I went there, I was scared again, right? I'm still scared. I made the appointment, but I'm still a little apprehensive. So I go in there, they take a sample of the tissue, and I'm like, okay, well that hurt, but I made it through it. And they're like, we'll let you know the results in a week or so. So there again, I went through the second step. There again, I got a little more courage. I got a little more confident. And then they told me it was skin cancer and we had to remove it. Well, now I'm like, whoop. Now I'm back to step 1, I felt like, right? But I knew that I had to go through this for my own health. Just like for your own financial health, you have to be able to identify the things, right? You have to be able to identify the courage, to identify the fear, have the courage, and then have the confidence. And that's what I did. I had no other choice. And sometimes with our finances, we're left with no other choice. We have to make a change to our spending. We have to make a change to our habits. And that's what we have to do. So from my own financial journey, if we're taking, I'm okay now, just so you guys know. I did have that procedure done, and it was scary, right? They had to come back I think they had to come back twice to continue to get more, to take more, and then I looked hideous for a couple of weeks. Like it looked like they removed half my face with the bandage that I had to wear around, and that's a whole different thing. But it's like, okay, it's over with. I'm victorious, and this is just what I look like being victorious. So I mean, it's cool. I was okay with that. But if let's look at if I look at a personal experience from finance, here's there was a moment in my own financial journey when I realized courage wasn't a one-time thing. Okay, it's a lifestyle. And I remember looking at my debt and feeling that gut drop moment. Okay, I was embarrassed. I had at one time I had a jet ski payment, and I had a truck payment, and I had a house payment. And I could have just I guess I could have just continued to pay and pay and pay, but then I'm like, this is just kind of silly. And I decided one day that I didn't have to have a brand new truck, and I still wanted a jet ski. But I decided that the financial freedom was more important to me than the brand new truck, and we made a negotiated with myself, and I sold the truck. And I was in good shape on the truck, right? So it wasn't like I was upside down. It wasn't like I sold it and I still owed $10,000. I sold the truck and then paid the jet ski off, and then I bought a used truck. So I have a truck now that's like, I don't know, it's like close to 15 years old, but it's cool, because I own it, and that's pretty awesome. Just being able to own something, and you have a title with your name on it, and there is no bank on it, that's a confidence builder. And, now I'm down to only having a mortgage, and I will own this home sooner than later because I'm motivated. And I've gone through life for so long doing certain things, and now a year or so ago, I turned over this leaf and had this new identity. And I started making these changes to my life. And these financial changes, these financial improvements, this courage that I began to have over financial decisions. Now, I'm going to tell you, me, as far as courage and confidence, there's certain areas of my life that I'm still lacking, okay? But I'm trying to take this financial side and apply that over to my personal life to have more courage and confidence in my personal life. But financially, and this podcast and things like, even doing this podcast, it takes a lot of courage to do this because you have people that'll reach out and be like, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. And it may be to some people, right? But there are also a lot of people that can relate to the stories that I tell and how I relate this to real life scenarios. And it's not just like, hey, buy this, go to this class, do this. It's like, hey, man, I've been on the same road that you're on, and here's what you need to do when you get up here to this left turn so you don't turn right. I've been there, and that's what I'm trying to help others with. So, I'm passionate with helping others, and I know what it feels like to be stuck. But I also know how empowering it is to take control. And, a lot of people would be sad, I had to get rid of my 2023 truck, and now I'm driving this old 2012. I don't care. I don't care because I'm free, man. I don't have that payment anymore. So, I mean, that's that's the personal aspect of that. And, without courage and without confidence, and without the ability to make a change in my life and make a change in my spending, I don't know that I would be where I'm at today. I'm still not where I want to be, but I have enough courage, and I continue to gain courage and confidence equally to make sound decisions that are improving my long-term goals. And you can do the same thing. So be passionate about what you're doing. And, the thing about it is, when you decide that you want to shred your debt, it's all about empowerment, right? So if you can develop the skills of courage, which I'm going to consider that a skill because that's something that is learned. It's not every day that you just go and somebody's just, hey, I'm courageous, right? I mean, the lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, they weren't born with all the things that we need, right? They were just given a brain and a heart and courage, but those are skills that we build as we grow. And those are personal skills, but they're also financial skills. And that's the coolest thing. So, all right, friends, here's what I want you to walk away with today. So sometimes I feel like I get lost in the weeds. I take a few notes of what I want to talk about, and then it always goes off tangent, and we get lost in the weeds sometimes. So I apologize for that. But what you don't need to be is, fearless to make good financial decisions. You don't have to be fearless, right? You need to be conscious of the decisions that you're making, but you don't have to be fearless. And you don't need to know everything. It's just like when we were talking last week and we were talking about the fine print, you don't have to know everything, but you have to be able to learn if you were to make a mistake. You have to not be able to make that mistake again because you know better. If you make a mistake and it's like, I didn't see that coming, and then you make that same mistake again, that's kind of on you. So you don't have to have a perfect plan either. You just have to have a plan. If you have a plan and you put it to work and you start to gain courage and you gain confidence, man, you're going to be a force. You're going to be a force to reckon with in your own debt. And then I'm going to assure you another thing. You're going to see these improvements and the changes in your attitude and your emotional outlook. And it's going to help you in your everyday life. I bet you're going to be more fun to work with. You're going to be more fun to be at home with. You're going to be just more fun because, for one, if you can identify and you can put a plan together and you have courage and you have confidence, one thing that you're going to have less of is stress, okay? You just need courage. You just need courage to start, and the confidence will grow as you keep showing up for yourself. And the shred the debt mentality isn't about deprivation. It's about liberation. It's about taking back your peace, your power, and your purpose. Okay? So that's where we're going to cut it off today. I can't explain how much I appreciate the listening base that we're growing, and it's awesome. So the call to action today is if you want to talk about courage and confidence and how this show's helped you, I want to hear your emails. I want to read them. I don't want to hear them. I want to read them. So send me your emails. We'll use them on the show next week. We'll kind of have a reflection, kind of like we did with the faith and the bottom line. So if this episode has inspired you, share it with someone who might need a little courage in their financial life. And if you haven't hit follow yet, you don't need to miss next week's episode. So hit that follow button, share this with somebody. And as always, thanks for spending this time with me. I appreciate you, and I'm proud of you. Now get out there and shred the debt. I'm Mike Boone. We're out of here.